All right, clock just struck 3 o'clock, so we're going to get started. We'll be timely, right? So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third annual Penn State 3 Minute Thesis competition, hosted by the J. Jeffrey and Amory Fox Graduate School. I'm Levon Esters, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Dean of the Fox Graduate School. As a proud Penn State graduate, having earned my PhD in Agriculture and Extension Education in 2003, I'm honored to now serve as champion, or as I like to say, the lead ambassador for our outstanding graduate students and programs at Penn State University. I'd like to begin by thanking our event partners, the Graduate and Professional Student Association and the Fox Graduate School Alumni Society for their continued support. I also want to recognize our distinguished judges for lending their time and expertise on a Saturday. Firstly, Dr. Christina Grosinger, Publius Virgili Monroe Professor of Entomology and recently appointed Director of the Huck Institutes of Life Sciences. Raise your hand, please, so they know. Thank you. Let's give her a hand. Yes. We also have Dr. Clarence Lang, Susan Welch, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Professor of African American Studies. Dr. Tracy Lankilde, Vern M. Williman, Dean of the Everly College of Science and Professor of Biology. And Danielle Rose, Master Student in International Affairs and President of the Graduate and Professional Student Association. Thank you for being here today, judges. The Fox Graduate School is committed to the holistic success of Penn State's graduate students, and today's competition is a key part of that mission. The 3 Minute Thesis challenges students to translate years of specialized research into a message that resonates with the general audience. This skill, clear, compelling communication, is essential for every sector: industry, academia, government, and the nonprofit world. It shapes public understanding, informs decision-making, and helps secure the resources that make research possible. After watching the past two competitions, I can say without question and with confidence that this experience is transformative. Each year, I'm inspired by how our students distill complex ideas into accessible, powerful stories, and even more inspired by the real-world impact of their work on communities, industries, and society. Graduate students are vital to Penn State's research enterprise. Let me say that again, so it's crystal clear. Graduate students are vital to Penn State's research enterprise. Their innovation and dedication fuel groundbreaking discoveries and strengthen our standing as a leading research institution. Through collaboration with faculty, cutting-edge investigation, and mentorship of undergraduates, our graduate students help drive the intellectual energy that defines this university. Simply put, graduate students are central to Penn State's success. So thank you for being here to support them. We're in for an exciting event filled with dynamic, insightful, and fast-paced presentations. Only 3 minutes, though. Now, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Stephanie Danette Preston, one of my great colleagues and Associate Deans in Fox, who's the Associate Dean for Graduate Educational Engagement Programs and Chief Diversity Officer for Graduate Education, who will serve as today's MC. Dr. Preston.
Good afternoon, everyone. No. Come on. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I was a classroom teacher, so I expected. All right, let's get started. Again, good afternoon. Thank you, Dean Esters, for getting us started. I'd also like to thank our judges for their time and expertise, and our event partners, the Fox Graduate School Alumni Society and the Graduate and Professional Student Association, for their continued support. Penn State is part of a global community celebrating the power of concise storytelling. 3 Minute Thesis was originally created by the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008 and is now hosted by more than 900 universities worldwide, making it a global showcase of graduate scholarship. This is Penn State's third year, you've heard that already, hosting the competition, and each year we see growing momentum and excitement and more creative approaches to communicating research. What makes 3MT special here is our diversity of students that's represented. Today's presenters come from 7 academic colleges and 8 graduate programs with backgrounds spanning 3 continents and 6 countries. They bring perspectives from engineering, the social sciences, the the arts, and health fields. And they're all united by one thing, the competition. No, a commitment to improving the world through discovery. You may think that a 3-minute talk might sound simple. It's not. It takes clarity, discipline, and courage to distill complex scholarship into a message that resonates with the general audience. Our finalists have taken on that challenge, and I think you'll be impressed by what they've accomplished. For our competition today, our students will be competing for 3 awards. First place, $1,000. Second place, $500. People's Choice Award, which is sponsored by our Graduate and Professional Student Association, $500. You will have a chance to vote for the People's Choice Award via QR code available for 10 minutes after the final presentation. Our first place winner will go on to represent Penn State at the Northeast Association for Graduate Schools Regional Competition and will be recognized at a Graduate Student Awards luncheon in April. We have 10 presenters today, and I know you'll learn something from each of them. Before we begin, some housekeeping rules. Please silence your cell phones. We also ask that you remain seated during our presentations. If you need to enter and exit, please do so during the 2-minute judging period between speakers to avoid interruptions. Are we ready? Yeah. Now it's time to get started. Thank you for being here to support our graduate students. Please help me to welcome our first presenter, Yasemin Gaffarini. Nope, Gaffarin. Yeah, I said it right. Good job, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm a nervous too. A master's student in architecture.
Imagine your entire home, bedrooms, kitchen, living room, all fitting in 2 parking spots. Most people would call that impossible, but a family lived in exactly that space for over 50 years. In 1966, Takamitsu Azuma was a young architect with a familiar problem. He needed a home for his family, but Tokyo's housing market was pricing him out. The trendy solution of the time was suburban sprawl. Move to the outskirts and spend your life commuting. But Azuma wanted to stay within the city. He grew up there, he worked there. Cities are where all opportunities are. So he bought the only lot he could afford, a smaller than 2 parking spots, and he built his house upward. He called it the Tower House. To address such a tiny footprint, he proposed an idea. He considered the city itself as an extension of the house. The park worked as the garden, the street was the hallway, and he thought, why duplicate all the functions that the city already provides? But here's what makes the Tower House extraordinary, what he called the tatami mind. As he said, it is what every Japanese home should have. It is the spatial intelligence of traditional Japanese homes. The flow between the rooms, the layered thresholds, the way voids and light make small spaces feel expansive. Traditional Japanese homes use tatamis to expand horizontally, but Azuma did not have the luxury of expansive land, so he had to preserve it vertically. A single staircase goes through the entire house within an open and continuous space connecting the different rooms, one at each stair landing. My research investigates how he pulled this off. I analyzed the Tower House alongside traditional Japanese homes to understand where these principles could be translated successfully and where they broke. During these comparisons, I realized that Azuma could translate not only the tatami, but also many other spatial principles. Now, why does this matter? These traditional concepts developed over thousands of years of cities being shaped and reshaped. It is accumulated spatial intelligence for density and livability. And here's the opportunity. Every city has leftover spaces, triangular corners, small lots. Developers call them unbuildable. But what if the same principles that made the Tower House work could transform these forgotten lots into quality housing? My research aims to translate that 1,000-year-old wisdom into today's irregular urban spaces, not copying old forms, but extracting the underlying logic. Thank you so much.
Our second contestant is Gopi Yalavarthi, candidate, doctoral candidate in nutritional sciences.
Imagine waking up, getting out of your bed, and eating a bowl of cereals proudly labeled high in fiber on the box. You feel proud, and after all, fiber is supposed to do great for your gut, right? But what if I told you all fibers are not your friends? Some of those healthy fibers can actually make your gut angry. Let's go back in time for a moment. Our ancestors got fibers from real food like apples, beans, and vegetables. These fibers feed good bacteria in our intestine and help us to keep our gut balanced. But today, the modern food industry is changed and often taking shortcuts. They are taking whole fibers, processing them, and turning them into powders, then sprinkling those powders into protein bars, snacks, and even sodas, and suddenly claiming added fiber on the label. That's where my research comes in. I look at how these processed fibers interact with gut inflammation compared to the natural fibers in animal model. For example, one of the popular processed fiber is inulin. On paper, it looks great and it's known to feed beneficial bacteria. But here is the twist. When we feed these processed fibers to animals with inflammatory conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, or colitis, it will do exactly opposite of what we are expecting. From our animal studies, we have seen that all fibers do not speak the same language to our immune system. Processed inulin triggers stronger inflammatory signals than the natural fibers. It's the same name, but not the same behavior. To put it simply, think of your gut like a forest. Natural fibers are whole tree with strong ecosystem, but processed fibers are taking that same tree, grinding them into fine sawdust, and dumping into your living room. It's the same wood, but our ecosystem doesn't know how to deal with that pile of dust. So instead of it provides shelter, it will simply enter into our eyes and cause irritation. That's how exactly processed fibers are causing the inflammation in the gut. My goal is to help us understand which fibers are beneficial and which ones are hidden culprits behind the gut by exploring wide range of processed fibers available as a supplement. I study this because millions of people with inflammatory disease conditions are told to eat more fiber, but that advice can increase the symptoms depends on the type of fiber they are taking. And even in real life, we take different type of fibers from our food. But processed foods contain only one type of fiber, which may not be beneficial for your gut the way natural fibers do. So next time, when you see added fibers on the label, please remember, fibers are not about the quantity. Fibers are all about quality. Thank you so much.
Our third contestant is Shika Soneji, doctoral candidate in informatics.
In 2018, a fitness app accidentally revealed the jogging routes of US soldiers on secret military bases. Now, all they had done was just click one button, I agree, just to track their workouts. But that single tap shared far more than they had ever expected. And this is not just with soldiers. Every single one of us, every day, we do the same thing on our mobile phones or laptop, at work, or at home. Now, privacy policies in terms of service documents are supposed to protect us, but they are long, confusing, and buried in legal jargon. Now, research shows that less than 8% of the users actually read before clicking I agree. So, every day, we give permission to the companies to just collect, store, and share our most personal information without truly understanding what we just said yes to. It's not a technology problem, it's a human problem. There are tools that try to help, like browser plugins, summary websites, but none of them actually explain to you what a policy means for you as a real person. My research fills that gap. I have built a structured framework, a map of how companies handle your personal information, what they collect, how they use it, who they share it with, and what risks it creates for you as a user. And using this framework, I trained AI models to break down long legal text into simple and understandable statements. And I tested those statements with 500 real users, cautious readers, overwhelmed users, quick skimmers, just to understand how different kinds of users interpret the same clause. And that led to Privacy Whisper. It's an intelligent system that reads any policy document instantly and translates it for you into plain language and also explains clearly the risk signals. How is this different from existing tools? Privacy Whisper does not just label a policy as good or bad. It explains how it affects you. So, a parent can now see what apps are collecting from their child. A shopper can finally compare which companies respect their data. You don't need to guess what companies are collecting from you. You can finally see it clearly and simply. This is the nutrition label that is required for the digital world. And it's time that we all knew what we are consuming. Remember those soldiers? If they had Privacy Whisper, it would have just taken them one line. This app shares your data publicly. Just one line. Thank you.
Our fourth contestant is Sakshi Sekar, doctoral candidate in energy and mineral engineering.
All right, yeah. Single-use plastics have become an integral part of our busy lives. Raise your hands if you've used any plastic material, such as water bottles, coffee cups, grocery bags, or garbage bags in the last 24 hours. Thank you. We discard 160 million tons of single-use plastics every year, out of which only 12% gets recycled. A staggering 70% reaches the landfills or the oceans. Here's the scary part. These plastics do not disappear, they just shrink in size, from big plastic chunks to microplastics. They are these tiny overachievers that are determined to make their way back into our food chain. Who knew plastics had such strong networking skills, right? What if these plastic wastes can be used to solve another critical mineral challenge? How many of us use smartphones? Almost everyone. Lithium-ion batteries powering everyday gadgets, from smartphones and laptops to clean energy alternatives like electric vehicles, heavily depend on graphite. The United States currently has no active domestic graphite mines, forcing it to rely entirely on imports, making it the world's largest importer. Now, this is where my research makes a difference, an intersecting solution between two major challenges. I upcycle waste plastics into graphite using graphenic additives for lithium-ion batteries. Any sourdough bread fans in the room? My process is very similar to adding a spoonful of sourdough starter to the dough mixture to make sourdough bread. Graphenic additives are like my sourdough starters. I mix them with the waste plastics and heat them all together. These graphenic additives help guide the carbon atoms, form perfect flat sheets that can be stacked on top of one another. This structure is what makes graphite valuable for batteries. Unlike other synthetic graphite production processes that use metal catalysts like iron, nickel, and cobalt, my process uses graphenic additives that are structurally similar to the final product, graphite itself. They don't need to be recovered, which means no expensive downstream purification steps needed to achieve the high-quality graphite batteries demand. Traditionally, synthetic graphite starts from petroleum coke, which costs around $700 per metric ton, whereas my starting material waste plastic costs nothing. This isn't just recycling, but upcycling at its finest. The next time you eat or drink from a plastic container, remember, it's a battery waiting to be built, an effort that not only protects us, but also powers our future. Thank you.
Our fifth contestant is Saber Sheikh, doctoral candidate in counselor education.
Picture a therapy room. When we think about counseling, we often think about the client and not the counselor sitting in front of them. But counseling is an emotionally intense job. And after the COVID-19 pandemic, we see a lot of counselors leaving the field due to burnout. Right now, we are what many would call a mental health national crisis. So what do we do about this as a society? Right now, we need to look at how we can support the counselors we already have, as well as support the next generation of counselors coming into the field. So my research works on that specific problem. My research asks this question of how can we support the counselors that we have, especially the ones that are diagnosed with a mental health concern. Understanding their background would help us support them in a way that can help them retain themselves in this counseling profession. We can build stigma-free environments and support them through their field. To explore this question, I interviewed 10 different counselor professionals across the United States. I asked them questions about what it's like to be a counselor with a diagnosed mental health condition. I use interpretive phenomenological analysis, which is a qualitative research tradition that really explores what it's like to experience a condition in its depth. This is not about numbers or statistics. It's about understanding the complexity of their professional experience. This is what we found. First, many counselors describe an unspoken kinship with their clients. Because they have been there, they were able to understand their clients in a much more deeper level. Two, they described support systems as lifeline. They talked about their own therapy, they talked about clinical supervision, they talked about mentorship, professional counseling, communities, as well as just having the support of their friends and family. This helped them stay in the profession. Third, they talked about stigma in the profession. They talked about not being able to ask for support because they were worried that they would be seen as less competent. And fourth, all of them believed that having a mental illness actually supported their work with clients. This is more than just about individual counselors. This research helps us understand what we can do differently as a field to support the environment that is sustainable to keep this profession going. By centering counseling voices, I'm able to help them bring their stories to the forefront. This way, we can develop professional recommendations that can help support these counselors stay in this field. This research lays the foundation for future studies to explore how supporting counselors can be needed for the communities that they serve. When we care for counselors, we are not just supporting the workforce, but we are also supporting the communities that depend on them for their mental health care. Thank you.
Our sixth contestant is Zilpha Irakoze, doctoral candidate in food science with a dual title in international agriculture and development.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I want you to picture opening bags of rice, maize, peanuts, the same staple food that millions of people depend on to feed their families or make an income, but it's been overtaken by mold. Or worse, mycotoxins, these deadly invisible toxic substances that are produced by some of these molds. Now, what if I told you that the Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that over 25% of globally produced food contain these toxins? And this leaves over 500 million people exposed chronically to unsafe levels of these toxins. Now, unfortunately, these toxins have been linked to cancer, child growth stunting, reduction of an income, and a staggering loss of food in a world that's struggling to feed its growing population. And unfortunately, not a lot of people know about it. Now, here's where my research comes in, and I'll propose you two complementary ways to fight against this toxic mold in our supply chain. First, the unexpected hero of my story, Trichoderma, a beneficial mold. It has been shown in the lab to reduce toxic molds and their toxins by producing compounds that can kill them up to 100%. But we don't just want to know that it works, but how it works. So I study the chemical conversations between these two molds. And when I compare the most effective to the least effective varieties of my protective mold, I'm able to identify a fingerprint of compounds that make some of my varieties better than the others. And I can use this fingerprint to rapidly then select for more protectors of our food. But here is where I stand. I believe that research is only effective if it reaches the people that need it the most. And in my case, the farmers. So I took my research to Sub-Saharan Africa, Ivory Coast, a region that's predominantly affected by these mycotoxins, where resides the majority of the 500 million people who are chronically affected that I talked about. And unfortunately, out of the 36 farmers that I worked with, none of them had heard of these toxins. And this creates a problem exposing them and their children. So it was up to me to develop these practical trainings that inform them about these toxins, their dangers, and give them practical tools to protect themselves and their yield. Now, I know when we hear mold, we hear really bad, but the same skills increase the knowledge of the farmers by up to 80%. When we hear mold, we hear really bad, and I get it. But what if it was the mold protecting our food? So my research combined the laboratory finding of these biological practices with in community engagement, two solutions with one mission in mind: protect public health, improve food security, and provide farmers with solutions that work with them and not against them. Thank you.
Our seventh contestant is Nusrat Tabassum, doctoral candidate in architecture.
Imagine trying to build a sandcastle roof at the beach. You can stack wet sand into walls pretty easily, but the moment you try to curve it outward, it collapses. So you grab a bucket or a temporary mold to hold it up. Now imagine doing this at the scale of a house. This temporary mold is called formwork. It is used everywhere in construction and thrown away. It is expensive, slow, and wasteful, and every time we build and discard it, we add more carbon emission to the process. Today, 1.6 billion people still lack affordable housing, while construction continues to generate significant waste. 3D printing makes construction faster, cheaper, and more efficient. And avoiding formwork in 3D concrete printing reduces construction waste by 30 to 60%. But there is a challenge. Roofs are difficult to print because they overhang outward and collapse without support. This limits the overhang of the roofs to 60 degrees, making roofs tall, inefficient, and unlivable. Because of this, 3D printed houses use hybrid construction, so they print the walls but make the roofs separately, which again increases cost. My research tackles this challenge by developing a strategy that allows curved roofs to support themselves during printing. So instead of using flat layers like slicing bread, I use multidirectional printing, more like wrapping a ribbon around a curved gift. This allows the printer to follow the natural curvature of the roof, so the material supports itself. I developed an algorithm which creates these walls, simulates their structural behavior, and generates non-parallel toolpath. After hundreds of digital tests, I have printed half a vault measuring around 8 feet by 5 feet by 5.5 feet, roughly half a room, reducing the overhang angle from 60 to 45 degrees. This enables full structure to be printed with less waste, bringing affordable housing to the places with limited labor, extreme climates, and even extraterrestrial environments. Thank you.
Next up, we have our 8th contestant, Patrick Sarpong, doctoral candidate in energy and mineral engineering.
Picture this, a world where we rely more on mobile phones, laptops, and other electronic devices for our everyday use, and also rely on electric vehicles to achieve our net zero carbon goals. This is exactly the world we live in now. And all these devices require lithium for their use. But hold on, there is an issue. The issue is this lithium is limited in nature. According to Lithium Harvest Report, by 2034, the demand of lithium is expected to be 3 times what we have today. And the issue is also, imagine with me that a lithium-containing material that is left in the open. These materials contain heavy metals which contaminate groundwater. So considering this, how do we keep up with the growth of lithium while we also protect the environment? What if one day, upon waking up, we are told that there are no more mobile phones or laptops to use again? That would be quite troubling, right? But there is a solution. Oh, yes, there is. What we need to do is to recover lithium from other alternative sources. And I am pleased to inform you that clay material in Pennsylvania is a good source. This clay material historically is ignored and treated as waste. But it is not just waste, it is also a valuable source of lithium. So for my research, instead of using harsh chemicals and environmentally damaging processes, I focused on a method using oxalic acid, which is an organic acid which is very safe and biodegradable. So this is what I did. First of all, I ground the clay material to a finer size. I did this in order to break the clay material open so that the lithium can easily come out when acid is used on it. After that, I contacted this clay with 5 different organic acids, and something amazing happened. Oxalic acid did better. It was able to get up to 94% of lithium from this clay in just 30 minutes. And even more impressive, when I compared this oxalic acid to sulfuric acid, which is a strong chemical acid traditionally used in the industry, oxalic acid again did better. This means we can get high amount of lithium from the clay we have been throwing away, and at the same time protect the environment. Thank you very much.
Our 9th contestant is Julia Ho, doctoral candidate in architectural engineering.
Stop for a moment and notice the temperature around you. Now imagine stepping outside during this year's frigid Pennsylvania winter. Weren't you glad you could be indoors in a building that kept you comfortable? Heating and cooling systems make this possible, but there's a catch. They use huge amounts of energy. In 2020, US homes and commercial buildings used 7.6 quadrillion BTUs of energy. That's like boiling the water in 21 million Olympic swimming pools. And since most of our energy still comes from fossil fuels, our comfort comes at a major climate cost. So we need to make buildings use less energy. And one way to do this is to rethink heating and cooling systems entirely. What if we could make buildings recycle heat? Most systems don't do this. Your window air conditioning unit dumps indoor heat outdoors, basically throwing it away. But new systems, called ambient temperature thermal energy networks, can reuse this heat instead. These systems connect buildings using a pipe network filled with cool water. Buildings pull heat from this network when they need to warm up and dump heat into it when they need to cool down. So a data center rejecting heat from its servers can warm a nearby apartment building. These systems can also store heat in the ground for months. So an office building cooling off in the summer can store that heat in the ground until winter. Everybody wins. The challenge is that these systems are huge and expensive, so engineers rely on computer models to design them. But they use assumptions that can cause inefficient systems, and more detailed, accurate models can be too slow for engineers to use. So my goal is to fix this. I'm investigating physics and numerical problems to build new computer models to help engineers design these systems. First, I'm incorporating factors like fluid and thermodynamics, ground temperature changes, and controls for better system analysis. In an initial result, I found that considering ground temperature changes that persist over decades can drastically impact energy use and carbon emissions estimations. This hadn't been widely considered before, but it impacted system performance. Second, I'm making my models faster while still being accurate. This year, I developed a correlation that allowed my network model to simulate in 12 minutes instead of 6 hours with similar accuracy. Finally, I will optimize the systems, the models that I have improved so we can find better designs more quickly and reliably. Hopefully, the models I develop will help engineers confidently answer questions like, how should I size my system's equipment? How will my network perform in 20 years? And how much carbon can this design save? The outcome is simple: better designed heating and cooling systems that save cost, energy, and carbon emissions, all while keeping us comfortable. Thank you.
Our final candidate for this evening is Shayan Deepti, doctoral candidate in kinesiology.
Imagine this. It's early morning, you're rushing out the door. Suddenly you lose control and the coffee slips out your hand and spills everywhere. A frustrating start to the day. But for people living with Parkinson's, that loss of control is constant. As even the simplest tasks like buttoning a shirt, holding a cup, writing a name become daily challenges. 1 million people in the United States live with Parkinson's today. By 2040, that number is projected to nearly double. And here's the most heartbreaking part. By the time someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's, 60 to 70% of the important neurons have already died. 60 to 70%. That means we aren't diagnosing Parkinson's late. We are diagnosing it far too late. And this is where my science and my story begins. My father's Parkinson has taught me something powerful. When diagnosis comes too late, so does our chance to help. So in my research, we ask a simple question. What if we could detect Parkinson before symptoms appear? To do this, we have built a small device where people gently press with their fingers on 4 sensors and produce a constant force. The tasks look very simple, but inside the nervous system, something remarkable is happening. Your brain is constantly coordinating multiple fingers to hold the force steady. By measuring tiny variations in this coordination, we compute an index of motor stability, a biomarker of how well the nervous system works. Think of it like the blood pressure test, but for movement control. Instead of waiting for the visual symptoms to appear, we detect tiny hidden changes as how well the nervous system works. But here is what makes this approach truly powerful. We are not just limited to finger forces. The same framework can be used on other mechanical and physiological signals that reflect how different parts of the nervous system, the cortex, midbrain, and the spinal cord work together. That means this method could eventually screen for multiple neurological disorders, not just limited to Parkinson. It uncovers movements instability long before symptoms appear. Microscopic force changes, invisible to the naked eye, but obvious to the nervous system. And here's the most exciting part. We have used this index on welders, a population exposed to heavy metals and at higher risk of developing Parkinson-like changes in the future. Even when the traditional neurological examination showed no problems, our stability index, measured using this simple force production device, detected early hidden changes in their motor control. That means we could finally detect Parkinson years earlier, before neurons are lost, before symptoms appear, and before lives are changed forever. My future goal is to use this index as a routine biomarker, something checked at your annual visit, just like your blood pressure or cholesterol, because early diagnosis doesn't just change treatment. It changes the entire future of families like mine, families like yours. It gives us a chance to fight back before it's too late. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause for our students. I'm sure you would agree that that was a very engaging and interesting set of presentations. Thank you again to all of our finalists. So now, we will take 10 minutes for the People's Choice voting and for our in-person judges to determine the first, second place award winners. Before you vote, we encourage you to think about which presentation you thought was most effective. You can find a link to cast your vote for the People's Choice Award on the back of your program, and there's a QR code that will be on the slides as well. We will also have some additional trivia on the slides for you to enjoy while you wait for the results to be announced. Enjoy, and we will be back in 10 minutes. Jeopardy music, please. That's not quite Jeopardy, but y'all got it.
All right, so before we move into the results, I want to take a moment to once again recognize these outstanding students, but I want to do it in a little bit differently. So last night, during the musical performance portion of graduate exhibition, I made the comment that, and I think it's worth sharing with you all today, that I sit in a very privileged position. And it's not because that I have this dual title of Vice Provost and Dean, but it's because I get to lead an enterprise that's comprised of some extremely talented graduate students. And it's important that you all, as 3MT participants and all the students in the room, graduate students in the room, hear that, because I don't take that for granted. I mean, I come to work every day, as I said last night, focused on how can I best serve students. And so it's important that you heard that from me. And this event showcased just a small sample, if you will, of the talent that lies within the graduate student community at Penn State, right? So please, everyone, join me in a round of applause for our 3MT participants. All right, so before we announce the results, I'm delighted to share that we have two special guests joining us today. I chose to wait until the end after the competition because I know how nerve-wracking presenting can be, which I shared earlier, and I didn't want to add extra pressure to our finalists, although they performed extremely well today. First, I'd like to acknowledge a dear friend who is helping elevate graduate education at Penn State, and in remarkable ways. And so I would like to acknowledge Jeff Fox, who's here. Please stand up, Jeff. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Anne-Marie cannot be here today, but Jeff, as you know, is the namesake, and Anne-Marie are the namesake for Fox Graduate School. And Jeff was just an outstanding human, just a great person, and as I mentioned a minute ago, a friend. And we've spent, the last 3 years almost getting to know each other. And so we actually spent some house, Dr. Preston and I spent some time at his house a few weeks ago. And he's just a great person. And so I'm glad you're here, Jeff, and so I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you. Our second guest, it's almost like rock star status when I make this announcement. Our second guest will be helping us announce today's winners. Well, Dr. Preston is a rock star, so yeah, but it's not Dr. Preston. It's not Dr. Preston. We have another rock star. He's a cherished symbol of Penn State's history and spirit, and one of my favorite personalities at the university. Please join me in welcoming the Nittany Lion. Yeah. So the Lion's going to come up here with us and as we announce the winners. So, and now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the announcement of this year's 3 Minute Thesis Award recipients. So as I announce each recipient, I'd like you to join me and the Nittany Lion on stage for a photo and to receive a check. You can't cash this check yet, so just don't. We'll start with the People's Choice Award, which again is sponsored by the Graduate and Professional Student Association. So Dr. Preston, you have the name? Huh? Okay, all right. So this year's recipient of the People's Choice Award is Zilpha Iwakoze, doctoral candidate in food science with a dual title in international agriculture and development. Congratulations, congratulations. Right on line. Right over, right there. I love that lion. All right. Next, our second place award recipient is Dr. Preston. Oh, so we have a tie for this. Yes. I like that. I like that. Okay. So the first of the two is Shayan Deepdi, doctoral candidate in kinesiology. And the second is Sakshi Sekar, doctoral candidate in energy and mineral engineering. Come on inside.
I'm on the side. We're good.
Sorry.
You're good.
Congratulations again. And now, for the first place award recipient for the 2026 Penn State 3-Minute Thesis. This individual earned the highest scores from our invited panel of judges today, and they will represent, or this individual will represent Penn State at a regional 3MT competition hosted by the Northeast Association of Graduate Schools. And the award recipient is Julia Ho, doctoral candidate in architectural engineering. So this concludes today's competition. I just want to thank everyone in person and those online. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for your support. And again, I want to thank all the participants. I mean, you all are doing some great work, phenomenal work for that matter. And I know Penn State's in good hands. Society is in good hands based on what I saw today, and even those in the audience, graduate students, those of you who are representing here today. So again, thank you. Thank you, judges, for lending your time today. I appreciate it. Let's give the judge a hand one more time. Yeah. And thank you for all those, again, in the room. Thank you, Lion, for being here. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. We are. Thank you.